All right, we are live. Welcome back to Getting Real. This is a podcast where we strip away the filters and talk about what it really takes to live a wealthy, joyful, and soul aligned life. So, I'm your host, Monique Hom, and today's episode is a declaration because I believe the world doesn't need more burnt out women chasing someone else's version of success. It needs more wholly wealthy women, women who are rich in resources and in joy, women who are rich in meaning and money, in freedom and in fulfillment. Today, we are talking about what it means to be really wealthy. We're throwing out the old playbook and redefining what it means to be rich as a woman. I believe we've been sold a lie. Let me ask you something. When you picture a successful woman, a rich woman, what do you see? You envisioning someone rushing from meeting to meeting, coffee in one hand, trying to stay caffeinated, phone in the other, someone who on the surface is like crushing it, but really feels like her soul is being crushed. I think for too long we've been handed a really narrow and outdated definition of success. One that was designed by in a different world for a different time for men mostly. And I should know this. I lived that, right? I was taught you go to school, you get a high powered job, you've got to hustle, you get a grind. I I collected my trophies. I was climbing the ladder rung by rung. I made money. I earned respect. I was checking off all the boxes. I was driving the fancy car, had the fancy apartment overlooking the ocean. On paper, I had all the things. Um, but that version of success was exhausting. That version of success made me sick. I literally ended up in a hospital bed with a ruptured appendix, feeling grateful that I didn't have to go to the office. I also later got shingles as a 26-year-old, which is horrific, and was in so much pain for weeks. And I had other things. My body kept telling me, "Oh, this is not the right path. This is not what's meant for you." But I was following the playbook. Like I was doing exactly what I'd been taught I was meant to do. Um, and I think that's what happens when you try to live a life or create success based off of someone else's blueprint. And then I asked some different questions, right? I asked different things that that opened me up and allowed me to create a really wholly wealthy life. And it's like, what does being really wealthy mean to me? What does being really rich mean? And that cracked me wide open. And I got this divine download. I got this download of wholly wealthy. And I don't know, I get downloads and acronyms. I love acronyms. And holy, the like not HOLY, holy, but WHOLLY, holy, like in holistic, holy, wealthy. It was a it wasn't just a framework that showed up. It was a revolution. And it's an idea that wealth is about so much more than what's just in your bank account. It is about what's happening in your nervous system, your boundaries, your relationships, your joy, your creative expression, your inner peace. And it's built on 6 pillars that each letter of the word holy represents. So W in holy is worth. And that means your self-worth, means your net worth, right? That's important when you're talking about wealth. But what is at least as important is your self-worth. That is the foundation of everything. And I think that our net worth can only rise to the level of our self-worth. So worth, how much do we value ourselves? Allow ourselves to really receive. That's the W. H is for health, right? A thriving body, a body with the energy, being mentally, physically, emotionally healthy, thriving. It's imperative. I've heard this, that a healthy man can have has 1,000 wishes, and a sick man, a sick person has one, right? To be healthy. Without health, what do you have? I have a relative who is going through dementia, and I'm watching her brain deteriorate. It's heartbreaking. What is life if your brain is going? What is life if you don't have the energy to get up, to play, to do what you were meant to do? That's health. We need our health. And I've I've been studying Japanese again. I lived in Japan for 6 months, well, a long time ago, and I've been playing with Duolingo. And one of the words that I just loved when I lived in Japan means, and it's their word for health, for healthy, called Genki. But Genki is so much more than not sick. So somebody who's Genki is healthy, thriving, lively, laughing, high spirited, right? And that, I think that's the health that we need, this very expansive definition of health, but we need our health. Right? So that's the second pillar of holy. The O is for outlook. And that's how we think about life. Because our beliefs become our reality. And if we wake up and, you sort of like want to put the covers over your head and you're just dreading, or you're filled with anxiety, and just life feels so hard, and just everything's out to get you, and it's this terrible place to live in your head. Right? That's not wealth. That's not wealth. So having an outlook where you're positive, where you're excited about your day and your life, and you're you're optimistic, and you know that life is happening for you, not to you, and you just have a set of habits of being and beliefs that really serve you and empower you. That is a wealthy outlook. The first L in holy, there are 2 L's, is for love and relationships. And connection is our true currency, right? And what does wealth mean without having people to share it with? If you have billions, but you're all alone, or you're in toxic relationships, then that's not wealthy, right? Having relationship, like having love, and love of all kinds, right? Love with a romantic partner, love with your family and friends, love with your higher power, just relationships that really fuel you. That is wealthy. That is wealthy. And they say your net Work is your net worth, right? Um, but it's like that, the quality of your relationships, that is wealthy. The second L is for laughter and fun. I think joy isn't a luxury. It is a necessity. And it's a strategy. It's a fuel that makes everything else sustainable. And I've been really doubling down on fun this year. I've been doing my year of fun, and I'm in the 300s. Today is day 306 of fun, consecutive days of fun. And that's been so powerful. Oh my gosh. And, you know, yeah, I've said this before, yet it has made me fall very, very deeply in love with my life. And it sounds frivolous, but it is so seriously important for us to have fun, to have laughter, to have like really be intentional about that joy. It makes everything else sustainable and improves everything else. And the last letter, Y, is for you. And this is about you being fully expressed, you sharing your gifts and talents with the world, you being a purpose, you making the impact that you want to make, you doing what you were born to do, you in your zone of genius, you as your best self. That's that's wealthy, right? When you feel like, oh my gosh, I get to be the best version of me, that's wealthy. And that's being wholly wealthy. So this isn't about choosing between money and meaning. Um, under like wealth comes from having all of this. All of the if you're missing any of that, then that's not a wealthy life. There's something really, it's something missing. So I want to share with you something, not to impress you, but to impress upon you that this is possible, right? And it's doesn't take a lot, just some intentionality. So in Real Estate Investor Goddesses, we talk about the goddess secret sauce, which is pleasure, like really leading from pleasure and fun, intuition, sisterhood, and mindset, right? Those four parts, right? And when you think about that, right, the pleasure is with the laughter and fun fits into that. You know, the mindset is with the outlook, the sisterhood is in the relationships. You know, your intuition is partly it's your relationship with your higher power, but also, you know, with yourself. To when the many of the women who have done our program, which is about real estate investing in theory, but really it's about living from this goddess secret sauce. They are excited that they've increased their passive income, that they've acquired properties, that they've raised capital, that they've increased their net worth. All of those things are great. But when I ask them what they most valued about being part of our community, our program, what I often hear is, I just feel so much more confident. I have so much more joy. I'm having a lot more fun. I have these incredible relationships, this sisterhood that nourishes me. Right. And I just know I can do and accomplish anything. So they stopped hustling and started to really like tune in and allow for more ease, grace, and flow. They started to live like they were already worthy, because they are, stopped grinding and started aligning. And the abundance followed. It doesn't come from that. like place of grind and struggle, you can eke out a little bit. But really, when you can fully align with these concepts, that's when it flows. And recently, I've heard this term and it's come up 3 times. And anytime that God, the universe brings something into my awareness 3 or more times, this is important. But even the first time I heard it, I went, yeah, this is important. And I wrote it down. And it's this ancient Greek concept called eudaimonia. And it means, or translates to happiness or, or flourishing. Aristotle described it as human flourishing. It's not just about feeling good, but living well and doing well. It's about achieving a good life through virtuous living, engaging in meaningful activities, actually fulfilling your potential, flourishing. And that it is like, when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's the wholly wealthy. That's it. That's what being wholly wealthy is about. And so this isn't a new concept. This is ancient. Those pillars, thinking about it in that particular way, might be a little new, but this concept of really being about flourishing is ancient, but so few people actually live that. So few really make that a like part of what they are, what they're being. Because it's not about having more stuff. It's about being more aligned, more authentic, more alive, more impactful, having a bigger impact in the world, flourishing in every dimension of your life. So it's about so much more than your bank account. And so being inspired by that, I created a manifesto for the wholly wealthy woman. And I'm pretty proud of it. And I have to be honest, I did co-create it with ChatGPT. Chat helped me create this manifesto. And it's still really powerful. So if you want to be a woman who is flourishing, if you're choosing to flourish, then I want you to repeat each line after me. And so, and here it is. I am no longer available for half alive living. Not in my work, not in my relationships, not in my health, not in my bank account, not in my joy. I choose to flourish, not just succeed. I choose to flourish, not just survive. I choose to live a wholly wealthy life where wealth is measured in dollars and delight, in freedom and fulfillment, in impact and inner peace. I understand now. Success at the cost of my soul is no success at all. Abundance that exhausts me is not true abundance. Power that disconnects me from my body, my joy, or my truth is not a power worth having. I believe that my self-worth is the foundation of my net worth. I believe that joy is a strategy, not a distraction. I believe that rest is sacred, not selfish. I believe that relationships should be a source of strength, not just sacrifice. I believe that wealth flows more freely when I am aligned, nourished, and whole. So I honor my worth because I am the root of everything I create. I protect my health because my body is the vessel for my vision. I sharpen my outlook because I create the world I believe is possible. I nurture love and relationships because connection is my legacy. I prioritize laughter and fun because life is meant to be exuberantly felt, not just managed. And I come home to me, fully expressed, fully sharing my gifts and talents, doing what I was born on this earth to do. I am the author of a new definition of wealth, one that includes softness and strength, structure and surrender, pleasure and power. I'm not building someone else's dream. I am building a life that reflects my soul. This is what it means to be wholly wealthy, and I will not settle for less. That felt so good. So, if that resonates with you, I have two suggestions for how you can begin this transformation. How can you start living this wholly wealthy life? So, first, I'm going to share two powerful practices. The first is to audit your alignment. You can't manage what you don't measure. So, you want to start by measuring where you are. Think about each of these holy pillars, right? Your worth, your health, your outlook, your love and relationships, your laughter and fun, and you, how you are showing up in this world. Where are you on a scale of 1 to 10 on each of those? 1 being horrible and 10 being amazing, the best, right? And grade yourself. Where are you on each of those? Where are you showing up for this? And where are you falling short? Where are you settling for maybe a success on the outside that doesn't feel good? Where are you saying yes when your body is saying no? Right? So look at each area. And in the area where you score the lowest, choose one small shift that will bring you back or more back into alignment with your joy and truth. One small shift that will move you up that ladder closer to a 10 plus version of that pillar for your life as defined by you. Right? That's the beautiful thing, right? So my definition of laughter and fun might be totally different from yours. My definition of, an outlook that I want to live into might be different from yours. You get to decide what is a 10 for you and decide, are you meeting that or falling short? So that's the first thing. The second is to let joy lead. This week, do at least one thing that brings you joy. Not because it's productive, not because it checks a box, simply because it lights you up. Could be dancing in your kitchen. It could be calling an old friend, somebody who every time you talk to them, like they bring out the best in you. Could be buying yourself flowers. Just do something for your joy. Just because that is what a wholly wealthy life is. Okay. So those are your two tasks for beginning your wholly wealthy journey. All right. And so what's next? This conversation is just the beginning. Over the coming weeks, we're going to dive deeper into every pillar of wholly wealthy. So really specifically how to reclaim your self-worth and grow your net worth simultaneously, how to make your body into your ally instead of your enemy, like how to really have the health and the energy you desire, how to cultivate the kind of magnetic outlook that draws what you want to you, how to build relationships that nourish your soul, how to infuse more laughter, fun, play into your daily life, how to become the most authentic, fully expressed version of yourself. And also soon I'll be sharing some details about a new program I'm designing specifically for women entrepreneurs who want to really live this wholly wealthy life. Um, so that's what I think wholly wealthy is, what real wealth is, what being rich for a woman truly is. And I think that is what we are getting real about. That's the game we're playing. All right. So here's my Trinity, famed end of show Trinity, or brag, a gratitude, and a desire. So I brag. I think I mentioned this before, but I brag. Today is day 306 of consecutive days of fun. What? And I brag choosing that. And that really is, that's been so huge. That the discipline of fun. And so I brag that. And I am grateful for every woman who's choosing to be like wholly wealthy, to be in total alignment with, just being like that flourishing, fully expansive version of herself. Because, this isn't just about you. I mean, imagine what you're teaching your kids, because they don't model what you say, they model what you do. And if you're modeling showing up at that fullest expression of yourself, that is how they're going to show up. And it's really freaking cool to see your kids start to do that. So, and others and your girlfriends and your family, and, just bring others along. So I'm grateful for every woman who's doing that. And I desire a world where this is like, this is taught, right? This is and this eudaimonic, I don't know how, but where it's like, we're really taught about like how to be flourishing and to live lives of virtue, right? Love, um, discipline, or I think of it as blisscipline, and courage, and service and contribution. So I desire that we're all taught that, all that our kids are taught that, that's taught in school, and that's the world we choose. It's the world we choose. Because when we're showing up at our best, then it affects everything around us. This is ripple effect. So that's what I desire. Um, so thank you for being here, for getting real with me today, and remembering that we don't have to choose between wealth and well-being. In fact, they are two sides of the same coin. That is being wholly wealthy. So thanks for getting real with me today. Let's get real. Let's stay real. Let's get really rich and wholly wealthy together. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.